We cut to the mountain where our heroes were buried, and indeed, just buried, as the cover indicated. A small pocket exists for them. So how come we didn't get the mountain playset where the Hulk has to lift up the whole thing in the toy line? As cool a concept as the Hulk holding it all up is, he admits he's just bracing it and has leverage. He can't keep this up much longer. They're gonna start running out of air, but fortunately Reed Richards rigs up a device using Iron Man's armor, Spidey's web shooters, and some of Hawkeye's trick arrows to amplify Iron Man's repulsor rays and fire a powerful enough charge to blast a hole in the mountain and get them out. Thor meets up with them, and they send Captain Marvel out to scout for a new place to go. She finds an alien village nearby where Galactus is standing, and sadly, it's their best bet for food and supplies. They can't directly communicate, but they can tell some of the group are injured, so a woman named Zaji, who has the power to heal, helps them out. Ben Grimm returns to being the Thing, but their concerns about that are tabled, as issue 4 ends with Galactus raising his arms. Oh no! Galactus is about to raise the roof and drop some sick beats on us! In reality, Galactus is summoning his ship with the intent of winning the Beyonders game in the most efficient manner possible, devouring Battleworld. Meanwhile, Johnny Storm helps Zaji understand their situation using the most sensible method they have available: getting high. Nah, it's some kind of weird telepathic incense that lets them share his memories and also get anyone who started reading from issue 5 up to speed. Xavier and Magneto dispatch the X-Men to join the other heroes in opposing Galactus while they try to make telepathic contact with him. And it goes as badly as you might think trying to link minds with a cosmic being like him, with enough psychic energy feedback to blast out part of their base. After the heroes deal with some kind of robot Galactus has at his disposal, the villains attack too. However, that's just a distraction for Doom, who manages to slip onto Galactus' ship. The X-Men help repel the villains, but Xavier recalls all but a wounded Colossus, wanting to stay independent of Cap's group. Now, them being a separate group doesn't make any sense until you realize that Xavier wants to split the XP from the battle with as few people as possible. On board Galactus' ship, Doom finds an energy device and starts playing with the controls, accidentally unleashing a supervillain named Claw. Naturally, with that name, Claw's deal is being made out of solidified sound and has sonic powers.
Of course! Don't you know anything about science?
He explains that he had fought Dazzler, whose mutant power converts sound into light, which of course screwed him over big time, and he was absorbed into her, and then expelled again at Galactus during an earlier fight, and in turn the energy absorbed onto Galactus' ship where Doom found him. Doom starts making plans of his own and dispatches Claw to his forces with instructions. While the heroes have some character development, the Wasp eventually runs into the Lizard, who's hiding out in a swamp for some reason, and starts reasoning with him, until the villains kidnap the two of them. Issue 7 begins with the introduction of Julia Carpenter, the second Spider-Woman, who I mentioned back in the Iron Man animated series episode review. She explains about the suburb of Denver that was taken by the Beyonder and offers to help. I admit I'm not sure why she was created or why she was introduced here of all places, but it does end up partially serving the story later. Julia got her powers from a government experiment that gave her enhanced strength and speed, but her primary abilities are actually psychic in nature, able to cling to walls with psionic energy, as well as project a web of psionic energy that can solidify into something similar to Spider-Man's webbing. Speaking of, Spider-Man is impressed by her abilities, and I wonder if I can sue her for infringing on my shticks. I should have gotten a patent or trademark or something. What's funny is that Stan Lee said that he created the original Spider-Woman just to make sure that no one else could use the name first. So Spidey couldn't sue even if he wanted to. For whatever reason, the villains drop off the Wasp for the others, though apparently she's dead and there's nothing Zaji can do for her. At least until later, when she nearly kills herself with her healing powers, managing to get her back. Doom, meanwhile, is discovered by Galactus, who decides to expel him from his ship by dropping him into the atmosphere and letting him crash back down to Battleworld. She-Hulk, pissed off about the Wasp's death and angry at Captain America's decision to not retaliate just yet, because of the larger problem of Galactus, sneaks off on her own and takes on the villains, managing to lay out the wrecking crew single-handedly until the other villains stop her. Fortunately, Cap's decision changes when Xavier contacts him, letting him know that he can go deal with the villains villains, while the X-Men handle Galactus in their absence. And thus Issue 8 comes, and Issue 8 is probably the most important part of Secret Wars in terms of lasting effects of it. The heroes assault the villain fortress, where the Enchantress is busy getting drunk off booze she's conjured up. No one attends! I shall have to conjure my own meat again! Or an innkeeper! But first I shall summon a bouncer to kick me out of this bar, because I've had enough! And then I shall conjure a taxi to drive me home! The fight goes well for the heroes, putting all the villains into cells and managing to get She-Hulk into a regeneration machine. Ben Grimm once again loses his rocks, but he does manage to defeat Claw and the Lizard via patty cake. It is truly the most epic battle in the entirety of the Secret Wars. Doom puts up no fight, having barely survived his fall from Galactus' ship, and he seems to have had a breakdown in the face of his failure. While Reed Richards works to repair Iron Man's armor, Spider-Man sees that Thor's clothing has been restored. There's a device in the alien lab that's able to conjure up clothes just by thinking of them. What sort of futuristic device is capable of such a thing? Sewing machine! Since Spidey's costume was torn up in the fight, he enters the room with the clothes machine, except there's a bunch of devices in there. As such, he finds one with what looks like a bowl meant to scan someone's mind on it, and figures that must be it. He concentrates on trying to make a new suit, but all that comes out is a black orb. He touches it, and it immediately spreads all over his body, thus creating Spider-Man's black suit. That glob just spread out and became a costume, and dissolved away the tatters of my old one in the process. You know, nobody ever talks about that part of him getting the suit. Are we sure that the symbiont doesn't normally feed on clothes and just had to make do when he didn't keep giving it his laundry? He figures he was subconsciously influenced by Spider-Woman's costume, which is why it looks like it does, but as far as I know, we never do get an explanation why it looks like her outfit. The black costume, for those unaware, is pretty damn spiffy. He's stronger, faster, the suit can camouflage itself to look like other clothes, can retract or expand at will, and can even shoot webbing for him without the need for cartridges. However, he can't dwell on that for long. Issue 8 ends with Galactus beginning his consumption of the planet. Our heroes join up with the X-Men to try to attack Galactus, but all they can do is damage his machine. Reed Richards has a revelation, believing that they should let Galactus win the Secret Wars. Either Galactus gets his desire and his hunger is stopped, thus ending the threat of Galactus forever, or he'll try to attack the Beyonder to get his wish and instead will be destroyed in the process. Win-win for the universe. Except for all the innocent people who would die to accomplish that, so screw you, Stretch Armstrong. And logically, there's also just as much possibility that the Beyonder will simply send him back to the rest of the universe without having fixed him, so they'd have all died for nothing. However, with Galactus' machine damaged, he teleports himself, his equipment, and Reed Richards to his ship. Like Reed was doing with the others, he tries to reinforce the belief that it's for the best to let him do this, and at first Reed accepts his logic, but eventually he comes around and all the heroes, plus Magneto, join in the effort to stop him. Doom finally comes out of his funk and escapes his cell, rescuing Claw from his prison too, feeling he's the key to getting what he wants. They once again disable Galactus' machine, but as Reed explains, that only delays him. See, Galactus doesn't need the machine to absorb a world, it just is more efficient that way. Instead, Galactus absorbs his own ship to renew his strength, then will return to Battleworld to take it, probably absorb the sun too, just so he has a power boost in case he needs to fight the Beyonder. But that's when Doom re-enters the picture at the end of issue 9. Claw, being living sound, can be sliced apart without actually harming him, so Doom reconfigures Claw's form into lenses, and yeah, something made of living sound being turned into lenses totally makes sense. Assuming you don't know what either of those things are. Claw, having been a part of Galactus' ship, means he's been attuned to it, so all the energy that Galactus creates by trying to absorb his ship instead gets sent right to Dr. Doom. And naturally, that was probably a bad idea. By the dark gods! My least whim alters the world around me! Oh no! Doom has casually mused about a world made of plaid, and now it is so! What has Doom done? He regains control of his faculties, but then his senses become enhanced. I feel every cell, every atom! Their textures, their quivering movements, the dance of infinity! Doom now knows why kids love the taste of Cinnamon Toast Crunch! Doom knows everything! Doom uses his new power to fly off and confront the Beyonder directly. The battle causes aftershocks and damage to Battleworld, our heroes barely managing to survive the onslaught. Doom monologues in the face of certain death. Is there no end to his strength? He doubles and redoubles his onslaught with each passing second. I must draw nearer still, and yet all my power is not enough. My thrust has been blunted, my energy ebbs, my defenses crumble. Doom's only hope is to annoy the Beyonder with constant self-narration. What is pain to one such as I will shut it out. The Beyonder would settle for you just shutting up. I kid, of course. Doom's melodramatics have always been one of the endearing things about him. He's over the top, but mostly because he's able to back up his arrogance. It's something the movies always screw up about his character. He's that damn smart, that damn strong, and he wants everyone around him to know it at all times. And despite him talking about how terrible the pain is, how a second ago we thought it was all hopeless, he still is strong enough to contact the heroes and let them know he's about to win and offers them the chance to lend their power to him, something Magneto is tempted to do, but he hesitates and the heroes tackle him before he can do so. The Beyonder is victorious, but only for a moment. He's curious about Doom, who came so close to defeating him, so he starts pouring through Doom's memories, and then begins dissecting half of his body. Ha, Beyonder! Even Doom's removed spleen is more powerful than you! You have fallen into Doom's trap! Doom does indeed wake up during all this, and despite what's happening to him, uses his full willpower to reassemble himself. After freeing the villains from their cells so they don't get killed by the collapsing structure, the heroes regroup, only to be met with a giant Doom. The Beyonder is dead! Now the supreme being in the universe is Doom! Doom feels this is deserved after how crappy a day Doom has had up till now. Doom returns to normal size as we end issue 10. Absorbing the Beyonder's vast energies caused my form to swell to enormous proportions. Well, except for some parts anyway. Doom is very happy to have such well-concealing pants. Doom takes off his mask, revealing that his first act upon gaining all that power was to heal the scars on his face. He agrees to talk to the heroes, but nearby the villains think he's double-crossing them. The Molecule Man in particular thinks he's being betrayed and tries to attack, but Doom's power is so great that all he does is show him the building blocks of existence and informs him that what's holding him back are his own psychological issues. And with just a wave of his hand, Doom removes his mental blocks. As such, the Molecule Man decides to take charge of the villains, and they retreat to the Denver suburb. What's more, he's powerful enough to create an air bubble around that chunk of Earth and fly the entire area back to Earth under his own power. The heroes withdraw to the wrecked villain fortress and try to figure out their next move, though all they really can do at this point is get some sleep. During the night, a bright light enters the ruins and goes into the Hulk, before then transferring to Spider-Woman. Whatever possesses her then heads towards the remains of Claw before yet another light appears, snapping her out of it. The others arrive at her calling, finding a message left by Doom. You are summoned to the Tower of Doom at dusk tomorrow. Food and drink will be provided, though Doom encourages you to bring more snacks. Doom also took Claw's remains and reassembled him while he was at it, bringing him back to the aforementioned Tower of Doom. They go there at the appointed time, and Doom says he's beyond any of his previous mortal concerns, even to the point of restoring Kang to life and sending him back to where he came from. Galactus has been found by his herald, so he's being taken care of. Doom offers the heroes anything they want as recompense for his past evil deeds. They all consider asking for a second, but Cap decides it's best not to do so. As such, Doom says they can all leave while he prepares to ascend to a higher plane. They head out, but Spider-Woman isn't among them, so Cap heads back inside to look for her. He finds Doom chilling out without a shirt on and reading what I presume is some kind of cosmic newspaper. New petitions against tax! Doom will not stand for this insolence! Doom sends Claw to look for Spider-Woman, who traps him and then infects him with the light from before. Doom, like Darkseid before him, appreciates the amenities of a comfy chair, which he lounges in as he explains his next plan. Mephisto kind of has a history of screwing up lots of people's lives and not just Spider-Man's, and that would include Dr. Doom's mother. Her soul is forever trapped in torment by Mephisto, and Doom has been trying for a while to free her. Now that he has these powers, he intends to liberate her. After that, Well, he's a cosmic being now. Conquest and ruling and crap aren't really anything he wants anymore. Cap reconvenes the heroes and they discuss the problem. For someone who claims to be beyond mortal concerns like Doom does, his first act upon getting unlimited power was to restore his scarred face to normal. And now he's talking about freeing his mom's soul. Aside from not trusting Doom at his word that he's not interested in conquest or the like, there's also the fear that no one person should have the kind of power he's wielding. He can basically destroy anyone who does something he disagrees with. The heroes all vote to take on Doom. Count good old Hawkeye in, but could somebody please help me make some arrows first? Clint Barton, master of priorities. Cap points out that this might all be for naught. Keep in mind, by the way, that if we do decide to confront Doom, it's possible that we might be annihilated on the spot by a bolt from the blue. Of course! Doom is so powerful now he can summon blue shells at will! And so, with the final vote making it unanimous, a bolt from on high slays all of our heroes, ending issue 11. And here's the final wave of the Secret Wars toy line, Murdered by Godlike Powers playset. Broken Captain America shields sold separately. So, yeah, they're all dead. Geez, the Wasp has died like twice in this storyline already. And really, this should confirm that Doom is not true to his word. After all, considering how powerful he is, what does it matter if they try to oppose him? They can't do anything to him. He contains the power back within himself, admitting that he needs to keep constant control over himself lest he accidentally wipe out a star system or something. Doom almost falls asleep in his tower, much to his anger. He realizes that if he falls asleep, his subconscious might throw reality into chaos. Claw speculates that despite what happened to the heroes, Doom might have already subconsciously recreated them. Doom denies this, but Claw suggests a way they could be alive anyway, creating a hologram image of his speculation. He says that it's possible that Zaji, having witnessed the destruction of the fortress, may have gone to find out what happened. Discovering the remains of Colossus, she uses her healing powers to restore him, but at the cost of her own life. Colossus then found the remains of Reed Richards and, using what was left of the fortress's medical chambers, healed Reed up, who in turn restored all the others. Claw has a real knack for writing fanfiction. Claw even suggests that this was Doom's will, that he subconsciously wanted the heroes restored, though Doom thinks this is all bullcrap. But as Claw says, then why didn't he completely atomize the heroes instead of his chosen method of destruction? And that's when the hammer of Thor smashes through the walls. And this Doom is why we double tap. I must let the power rise! Destroy them again! It's no good, man. They're just gonna respawn off screen. In his rage, he almost destroys all of reality, but stops himself. Because of how difficult it is for him to rein in the power, he gives a fraction of that power to Claw so he can fight on his behalf. And he does so, sending out monsters to attack the heroes. Captain America manages to get through to them and heads towards Doom. Doom says it doesn't matter since he's still omnipotent, but Cap reminds him that even with all his power, the Beyonder was still defeated, so the same can be done here. Doom vaporizes Cap, and then Claw reconstitutes him. Over and over, Doom kills him and then brings him back, until finally Doom starts losing control, Cap offering to act as an anchor for his power. However, that was what was needed. Out of Claw emerges the Beyonder, who reclaims his lost power and reverts Doom back to what he was. The Beyonder transports both Claw and Doom elsewhere, and doesn't say anything else to the heroes. And like a crappy DM, he fails to give the heroes the reward they fought for, despite them winning the campaign. Typical. And thus we start moving into our conclusion. Parts of the fortress are still intact, allowing them to survive for a while to figure out a plan. Spidey notices that the costume-making machine that the others use isn't the same one that he got his new outfit in, though he puts that question aside for the time being. I'm sure there's nothing suspicious about that. I got a good feeling about that outfit, Pete. They notice a few odd occurrences of things they want coming true. Reed Richards may have an explanation. I believe that this wish fulfillment phenomenon we've been experiencing is an after effect of the battle against Doom. The planet itself seems to have been charged with residual energy which seems to respond to strong desire or force of will. Don't worry about it, everyone. I'll wish us up an Office Max and we'll be out of here in no time. And that little explanation is all we get for what happens next. Captain America's shield was damaged thanks to Doom, so he gathers up all the pieces and puts them on a table and wills the pieces of his shield back together. America, fuck yeah! Reed soon realizes that the constructs that brought them to Battleworld are still in orbit, and he's able to access them, using the technology to send everyone home. Well, all except for Ben Grimm, who elects to remain on the planet to try to find out why he keeps reverting back to his human form. And so our comic ends with Ben Grimm pondering all this.
Nice guy, Reed, and a little bit of a worrywart, though. I'm gonna be fine. A little lonesome, maybe. But what's that what FDR said once? There ain't nothing to fear. Except for a kinda sorta remake of your event comic in 2015.
Secret Wars is very good and enjoyable, but it is definitely a bit flawed. Most of the problems are in the early stuff, where the book seemed to struggle with character motivation when juggling very different people. As I said, the X-Men's departure seemed very abrupt and confusing. There is definitely stuff I didn't talk about, a lot of tension in regards to them being mutants, and the concern that they were being treated differently as a result, though honestly, most of the resentment seemed to be towards the admitted murderer and not mutant kind itself. One of the criticisms and jokes made about the book is that there isn't any dialogue that doesn't end in an exclamation point. Everyone's pontificating and making grand statements and over-the-top lines, but honestly, that's just a product of the time it was made in. While plenty of writers knew how to keep that restrained, it was still a thing in the 80s for characters to speak very melodramatically, especially at Marvel. Recall how Rom had the same thing going for it in that book, just less intense about it. Still, characterization is overall great, and it's one of the most well-remembered moments for Doctor Doom. Every character has a chance to shine in some way or another. The artwork by Bob Layton and Mike Zeck is solid, especially in regards to the fight scenes. They know how to do big moments and convey size, from Galactus' imposing presence to a mountain dropping on top of our heroes, and that feeling every bit as closed in and claustrophobic as you'd think. Secret Wars is by no means a perfect book, but it's a very good popcorn flick starring some of the best heroes of the Marvel Universe, with shifting factions and a complete story told from beginning to end without any subplots going off into tie-ins. Highly recommended. As I said in the beginning, though, there were definitely after effects to the story. The biggest one, that definitely has lasted the longest, was of course Spider-Man's black costume, which would later be revealed to be a symbiote that was feeding off of him. He eventually ditched it, until it fell into the hands of Eddie Brock, turning him into Venom and all the shenanigans that followed from that. The Venom symbiote itself is, of course, still around today. Ben Grimm's transformation was apparently a psychological thing, and he bummed around on Battleworld for a while, until eventually departing back to Earth. She-Hulk served as Ben's replacement on the Fantastic Four while he was gone. With the popularity of Secret Wars, a sequel was made the following year, and a pretty crappy one at that. That's a story for another day, but you can already tell something is wrong when it neither includes a secret war or a war of any kind, instead being about the Beyonder coming to Earth to try to learn about humanity. The Beyonder would have various parts of his story retconned, and very poorly at that. Something about him being an Inhuman who was also a mutant, except that makes no sense given some stuff that happened in this story. There was a pseudo-sequel remake in 2006 with the miniseries Beyond, about another villain replicating the Beyonder's experiment, which was quite good, and I recommend that. And as I joked before, Secret Wars was kinda sorta remade in 2015 as part of an event of the same name. It was the end of a long story arc in Marvel about the end of their multiverse. That too is a story for another day. The final thing I'll talk about is that, like I said in the Wedding of Iron Man review, Secret Wars got adapted in the final season of the 90s Spider-Man animated series, and it was pretty damn good. Being only 3 episodes, a lot was changed and condensed, but it ultimately just made the story better. The Beyonder has a lot more to do, and his motivations are made apparent in the beginning, wanting to see which was more powerful, good or evil. He charges Spider-Man with assembling a team of heroes to defeat various evil forces, and the whole thing works as character development for him, while also being an epic story in its own right. Concluding, like the original event comic, with Doctor Doom stealing the Beyonder's powers. It would even be revealed that these Secret Wars were themselves the final test for Spider-Man, as part of a longer storyline throughout the show that culminated in the show's finale, and how the Beyonder was a big part of that, too. Next time, we stay in the Marvel Universe for another event that also deals with beings gaining limitless, godlike power. But in the end, it's really just a love story. A love story that kills half the universe.
Farewell, heroes.
Doc, my friends, please, tell me what you did with them.
Who knows? Perhaps they are hiding under a rock.